TV.
Hey, it's Lori Lydia. Welcome to Out of the Fog. Tonight we have Dean Ingram, who is the candidate for the Visionaries of the World campaign, and we have Chris Batsone. You might recognize his voice from radio, and now he's putting out a brand new podcast. You won't want to miss this. Stay tuned. And welcome back. Today I have with me Visionaries of the Year candidate, Dean Ingram. Dean, welcome to the show today.
Well, thank you for having me on.
And of course, we have a mutual friend in common, Greg Smith, who obviously put us in contact. And so, Dean, you've had quite the journey and you're involved with so many cool things. So tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey.
Well, some people might know me as being the former president of the Newfoundland Labrador Teacher Association, and that was certainly a very important part of my life, but as one I really enjoyed. But I think more importantly, in terms of my career, I've been an educator for now going on 33 years. I'm a father, I'm a husband, but what brought me to this campaign is the fact that I'm also a cancer survivor. In 2001, I was diagnosed with Hodgkin's disease, and ironically, it's the exact same time. Ironically, it's probably the wrong term to use. My mother, God rest her soul, had a relapse of her non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. So these are things that really brought me to this campaign.
And so, like you said, you and your mom were diagnosed roughly around the same time, so...
Sort of. Mom, and again, this is I will be honest, there's probably a country western song waiting to be written for me about the 2001-2002 year, in that my mother's had non-Hodgkin's lymphoma 1 year previously.
Right.
We learned that mom's had relapse in early December. My son was born that September. And I found out, ironically, Christmas Eve, that I had cancer of some sort. So through the rigs and the reels, I found out that I had a battle with Hodgkin's, and me and my mother were actually taking chemotherapy in alternate weeks for that winter.
Wow, so you were doing even a family thing even in those circumstances.
It was an interesting year, is probably the kindest way to phrase it.
Yes, so you've talked about a lot of support that you've received from your community and other organizations. So tell us a little bit about that support that you've received.
In that year, I made some decisions at the time that I thought were the right ones to make. In fact, what I did is I took the monies that I were paying at the time into a salary continuance plan with our group insurance. And I decided, based on some bad advice, to flip that into an education savings plan for my son. That was arguably one of the worst decisions I ever made in my life. I opted out that fall, and lo and behold, 2 months later, I found I was diagnosed. Wow. As a result of that, my disease, while it was stressful mentally, it was stressful from a health perspective, it also became an issue financially. And the reality is, at that time, that year, the community support I received from so many different circles, from the NLTA, from the local business community, from the community at large in Clareville, from Arnold School, my hometown and surrounding area, the reality is I will never be able to live long enough to repay what was done for my family during that year, which is what brought me to this year. And when I was approached by Greg to actually become involved with this campaign this year, I couldn't in any way, shape, or form say no.
Wow. And so speaking of this campaign, so tell us a little bit about it. I know that it is a 10-week process, so tell us all about that.
Yeah, the campaign started on March 27th, and it concludes on June the 7th. And what it is there are a number of people that have been identified and put up as being spokespersons, people flying the flag for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. I happen to be the one that's flying that flag here within the province.
Wow.
It's a 10-week program that I guess in some ways operates similar to Canadian Idol, in that whoever's banner raised the most money is given the title of Visionary of the Year. I guess it's maybe in some ways bragging rights. I'm hoping to raise $75,000, but
Wow.
that's my intention, my goal. But I guess while it's not the most important thing, I'd like to beat the other Atlantic provinces too.
Of course, make your mark and the initiatives that you're taking. So, tell us a little bit about the actual, process to this,
Well, what it is in terms of the donation, it's one's there. I mean, on the social media side, I've been out there actively. I know that banner is scrolling across the screen now as we speak. There's a number of corporations that have certainly stepped up largely. The Fuhr's Group of Company in Claremont comes to mind specifically, been with a very generous donation, the Claremont Co-op, other corporations, and there's so many others, and I'm almost hesitant to go much further because I may omit some individuals that have been very generous and very supportive of the campaign. Here in St. John's, the Montanas on Calumet Road have been extraordinarily helpful, to that point that there will be tickets going on sale starting this week that would involve someone actually being the recipient of a backyard barbecue, fully catered and fully hosted by Montanas, and I think that would be a welcome way to start the summer.
That sounds amazing. I know I would like to win that as well.
Me too. But,
So you were the former president of the Newfoundland Labrador Teachers Associations. How has your leadership for that role brought into this campaign?
I think it's so important that I viewed my role as NLTA president as being responsible for the people I represent, which means I've always said you can't speak for unless you've been speaking to. And one of the things I took to heart during my presidency was that I had to make a point of getting and speaking to teachers directly where they are, to explain where I viewed things need to go, but at the same time taking into account where the members felt they needed to go. With that in mind, I think my preparation for this has been exactly that. I've been reaching out to people to hear what they have to say. And the one thing I can say is that in speaking to some individuals about any of these types of campaigns, there's always those that are concerned about some of these larger campaigns in terms of where the funds are actually diverted to. For me, I've been very clear is that I want any funds raised underneath the banner that I'm flying to go to really 3 areas. I think there has been an education piece, and I think there's many cancers, blood cancers in particular, that different habits could actually go a long ways in alleviating. Education in terms of how to deal with those cancer diagnoses. I believe that research is critically important. But one thing I think that is probably, especially in this province, given our geography, there has to be funds devoted to patient support, be it transportation back, because we are a very rural province where the healthcare facilities may not be located close to where the people that are dealing with the diagnosis live. So there has to be funds devoted to actually assist those people in getting to their appointments, to helping with the cost of prescription medications. There's so many things there.
And of course, Greg Smith was one of the people that nominated you.
He was.
And how did that make you feel?
Honored, honored. How that came about is that when Greg was nominated and I saw his postings on this, which I was very proud to contribute to, I had to send Greg a message because as a cancer survivor myself, I had to reach out and say, thank you for taking this on. It meant a lot to me. So when Greg reached out to me back earlier the winter, I think it was maybe January, February, to become involved, I said, how could I not, right? And I was very honored with that.
And being a part of the Visionaries of the Year is very personal
very
to
much
you.
so.
And so can you elaborate a little bit more on that?
It's personal for me because, as I mentioned, I'm a cancer survivor myself. My mother, God rest her soul, she went through the same thing. In fact, that year, not only did me and my mother take chemotherapy in alternate weeks, I had to go for a stem cell transplant. Mine was successful. I had post-transplant radiation, so I lost a full calendar year. Yes. My mother, God rest her soul, she went for a transplant. She had to get hers done in Princess Margaret because she had to be a donor. She couldn't act as her own donor. I did. And regrettably, my mother passed away that spring. In fact, the last day of school that year, 2002, I got a call from the hospital in Toronto saying my mother had taken a turn for the worse In essence, she picked up a fungal infection and regrettably passed away. These things happen. Yeah. Why is it personal for me besides being a cancer survivor myself and in my family? It's because of the support the community provided for me. And in Clarenville, there's a few individuals that have inspired me greatly, and I'll mention one specifically. There's a gentleman in Clarenville, and Mr. Troy Hunt, whose son unfortunately passed away, young Darian.
Oh, yes.
What I've seen Troy take on in memory of his son, who did pass away regrettably from leukemia, was heartbreaking me. But Troy, to me, and how him and his family have dealt with this, and I can't imagine him deal with it. They've done this with such grace and honor, trying to do things for the right cause. And when you see things like that around you, how can you not feel like stepping up? The community stepped up for me, so can I do a little something to try and assist that? I'm hoping I can.
So what would winning mean for you?
Well, winning for me would mean, obviously, I'd get to get a dig in at the others around the Atlantic provinces, first and foremost, just like that slow-pitch softball game where you get a barb in at your friends.
Yeah.
And I haven't spoken to other Visionaries. But more importantly, I think winning is more about providing funds for the Leukemia Lymphoma Society so they can actually administer the programs to help those who need it most. The true winners are going to be those that are receiving the benefits of their programs, and that's what winning would mean for me.
That's amazing. And so how can people donate to your cause?
There's a couple of ways. Obviously on my social media feeds, which are scrolling through, there's my Facebook page, which I'm posting regular links to, on my Twitter feeds and other social media. But maybe the simplest way might be if you go to the website visionariesoftheyear.ca, which has also been scrolling through, and just do a search for my name. You can click on that link, and that will provide access to a website where you can make a donation. If you want more information, people could certainly email me at dingram, that's D-I-N-G-R-A-M, M as in Mary, 1234 at outlook.com. And I'd be more than happy to accept any and all support. And if people want to support, any shares of the social media feeds would certainly be greatly appreciated as well.
Excellent. And so how can other people get involved and get that support that you've also been giving?
Well, again, if they want to join my team, there's a place there they can actually become a team member. If they have corporate connections that would maybe feel like supporting this venture. And I'm hoping that this province can step up. This province has always stepped up, be it a Canadian Idol competition, be it any competition that puts our province on the map. And we've always seen this province punch above its weight. I've seen that in my former role nationally, the respect that this province has across the country. And I'm hoping we see the same here.
Excellent. And your goal is 75.
I'm hoping to raise 75. That's the goal, but obviously I'd like to surpass that, and I'd like to raise maybe $1 more than Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, and PEI.
Yes, of course. Well, we wish you all the best on your success and in your campaign, and you got all of our support.
I really appreciate it, Lori. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for being here with us today, Dean.
My pleasure.
And we'll be right back after the short break.
Your opinion matters, and we want to hear from you. Get in touch with us using our viewer feedback line, your direct connection to shaping the shows you love. It's easy. Just grab your phone, scan the QR code on your screen, and take our quick survey. Share your thoughts, and let's make your viewing experience even better.
You're watching Rogers TV St. John's.
Welcome back. Today I have with me a very good friend, radio personality, and podcaster, Chris Batstone. Chris, welcome to the show.
Oh, great. Thanks for having me on.
You know, I've known you for years, been social media friends with you, so it's fun to actually meet you in person.
Yeah, in person. It's great. I was excited to actually I'm going to meet Lori in person. This is great.
The feeling's mutual.
Yeah.
So Chris, you know, you are a hit in Newfoundland radio. You know, everyone knows you, everyone knows your voice. But for those who may not know you, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got to where you are today.
Well, as far as the radio goes, I do the afternoon show on K-Rock. And I've been in radio, my first pro shift was 1989, so the math, I don't know, I can't do math. That's why I got into radio.
36 years.
Yeah, quite now. And I did college radio before that. So it's been a long time for me in radio, and I really enjoy it. It's one of my passions. I do a lot of other things too. I do voiceover work and audio production, and I'm into a few things, and I'm really enjoying my career these days.
Yeah, it sounds like a really fun and exciting career. I mean, like with the freelance and then the voiceover. So are you working on any other cool projects in that area?
Oh yeah, well, I'm always doing something, in voiceover. My agent got me a BMO commercial there recently, so that was kind of fun. My favorite thing to do is concert commercials. I do that. I'm on a roster in the U.S. called Tour Design Creative, so I do concert commercials for them. And so yeah, there's always, being a freelancer is terrifying and exciting. Yeah. And Monday morning is something that I look forward to, because there's always something interesting there, and and something that I like doing. So.
That's incredible. And of course, on top of all that, now you have started your own podcast.
Yes,
so
I know.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, so the podcast is called A Face for Radio. And my wife came up with that title. She's brilliant. Thank you, Sharon.
I was saying that title is very cool. So yes, great brownie points for the wife. So.
I know, she did really well there. Yeah, she came up with that. So the idea for the podcast is I'm interviewing radio personalities in Newfoundland who have brought you radio for the past 3 decades. Mm-hmm. And I came up with the idea for the podcast because one of the reasons is radio is very much under attack these days. Mm-hmm. It's and on a couple of fronts, other media platforms moving in and limiting radio's reach, but also disinformation about radio. The thing is that radio's been under attack for years.
Right.
From the very beginning, when television came in, everybody said radio's over. When music television came in, everybody said radio was over, and then home taping, and now streaming, and everybody keeps saying radio is over the whole time, and it's not. It's clearly not, and that's proven on a bunch of fronts, and that's where the disinformation comes in. Like study after study shows that people interact with terrestrial radio more than they interact with non-paid for Spotify, for example, or non-paid for YouTube. And radio does things that social media platforms can't do. Right. Like radio is intensely local. Radio is immediate. Like somebody's talking on a microphone, they're talking to you right then and there. And social media, most of it is recorded. Spotify, everything is recorded. Right. So the immediacy of it, the local aspect of it, radio captures culture in your community. Everybody talking about the same. The example I always use is the Shed and JLAC. You listen to the Shed. I mean, it's just super Newfoundland intensive.
You can't beat that type of content, like you said, and having the ability to talk about local and and being the first means of communication is really neat, right? Yes,
absolutely, and this is one of the reasons why I started the podcast to help to change that narrative. Radio is not dying, and it's very much alive and thriving, and to maybe put out another voice. And the thing was, I've been wanting to do this for a long time. I've been wanting to capture the stories of radio. I mean, you work in media, as you know, media is a wacky business, right? And radio is a wacky business, and there's so many amazing stories out there about some of the crazy stuff. I've been paid to do the craziest stuff over the years, like really handed a paycheck for doing that stuff, and I always wanted to capture the stories of radio. I thought about writing a book, but I don't have the patience for that. And then I came up with the idea for the podcast, and it serves that purpose of showing why radio is important. I could go on a podcast and say episode after, this is why radio is important, but it's not as impactful as having it displayed and you figuring it out for yourself. Right. So with these interviews that I'm doing with radio personalities, just them talking about their careers and all the things that they've done, entertainment and charity work, and things like that, it becomes obvious why radio is important. So I'm hoping that people are going to get that when they hear the episodes.
And that was my next question was, you know, who's your demographic and what message do you want them to receive from hearing your podcast?
I guess I don't really have a demographic, you know. I think that anybody who's, seeing the names and interested in like the behind the scenes, about the peek behind the curtain. I mean, this is definitely going to be a peek behind the curtain.
Yeah.
You know, so, you know, like if anybody's interested in that, I think that we're talking to them. And I would like to reach a younger demographic too, because obviously these are the people that moving forward are going to be the radio listeners primarily of the future. So hoping to reach those people too.
And we don't want to give too much away. We want you to watch or listen to the podcast, but like, can you comment on some of the content or the episodes or even some of the guests?
Yeah, well, I can give you a complete list of guests.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm going to, the podcast is going to come out May 1st.
Oh.
And I'm releasing all 12 episodes on May 1st.
Oh, that's a new technique, you know, so is there a reason why you dropped all of them at the same time?
Well, I wanted to take advantage of binge culture.
Yeah,
which,
sure, I love that.
Which everybody's into, you know, binging TV programs and stuff. So I'm hoping that like somebody hears a podcast that they like and maybe they'll continue on and hear the rest of them. So yeah, all 12 episodes are coming out. So my guests, and I'm so fortunate to know these people and that they agreed to it. So Brian O'Connell is one, and he's actually the first episode.
Oh, and, we love Brian here.
Oh yeah. Well, Brian's been one of my mates for forever, and he was actually the first one to say yes.
Oh, good.
Too. Yeah. So and his episode is incredible. He tells the story in his episode, which was extremely personal, and I was just so fortunate to hear it about his mom and talking about her final days and about what was on in the room in the hospital in her final days. Like she insisted, VOWR. Wow. That's what she wanted on. Yeah. You know, and it just demonstrates how radio is important. You know, like it's companionship, it's information, it's entertainment, it's local culture. Exactly. You know, so anyway, O'Connell's episode's amazing. Lisa Gushu.
Oh, love Lisa.
Yeah, Lisa is actually a personal hero of mine.
Mine too.
Yeah, well, I mean, when I started in radio, I was very young, and Lisa really showed me the way, like how to be a professional, and her voice is just otherworldly.
It's amazing. Yeah. She's such a good mentor too.
Oh, she is. She's an incredible person. Bill Gregory is one, and you know, Bill is hilarious, so his episode is hilarious. Carolyn Moore from Coast, and I've known Carolyn forever too. She's got a great story to tell. Heather Barrett.
Oh yes, Heather's lovely.
From the CBC. She does Weekend AM, and she covered that side of that I was hoping to hear about, which is long form radio.
Right.
Like 15, 20-minute pieces, and I'm very interested in that side of it too. John Steele.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I got John. John's a great friend of mine, and his voice is really important here because he provides the employer side.
Right, exactly.
And
that's a nice perspective on it,
yeah, it's a good perspective. Yeah. You know, you get like a lot of the perspective that you don't really realize when you're an employee.
Right.
Of why people make decisions, and even though it's hard, and I mean, and when you're an employee, like you just tend to think of, you know, radio companies as just corporations, very faceless, but John adds a real human element to it in his podcast episode. John Wiles is a guest, and John was a member of Oz FM back in the Renegade days in the 70s when FM radio was a renegade frequency. Yeah. So I got to hear all those stories. Kathy Rowe, who was for years was the manager of Mun Radio, and Mun Radio is important in this whole thing, not just for training professionals, like the professionals that you hear on radio these days came through Mun Radio, but also content too. They provide a lot of key content. Patty Daly.
Of course.
Love Patty.
Love Patty.
And Patty arguably has the toughest job in radio.
Yes, without a doubt.
I mean, I could not do that job. And so Patty's episode is great. Paul Kinsman, Paul from Oz FM, and Paul's story is great because he pretty much worked at every radio station in the province, including in Labrador.
Yeah.
So he tells those stories about being in Labrador, being on the skidoo with a microphone and stuff, which is really entertaining.
Wow.
Paul Raines.
Oh, yes. No, Paul,
is a guest, and Paul, his perspective is great because Paul was a radio star.
Yes.
You know, like when you're a radio personality in the 70s, you were a star.
You were a star, yeah.
So had that perspective, and Sharon Maudlin as well. And Sharon is one of my heroes too. She went from being like logo girl, if you remember being described as son of a Critch. Now she manages 21 brands in BC.
Wow.
So she came a long way. So those are the guests, and it's coming out May 1st. And
where can people find you?
It's going to be everywhere. It's going to be on everywhere you get your podcasts, you know, even though like it's not going to be on radio, but it'll be on the Spotifys of the world and all that. And the social media handle is Radio Face NL.
Wow. Okay.
And I'll have lots of clips of the episodes there too.
I have to be honest, I'm so excited because you're so passionate about it, but like those are top-notch guests. It's just going to be an awesome show.
Yeah, great. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Chris, for being with us today.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.
And we'll be right back after this short break. Thanks for tuning in to tonight's episode. First of all, we want to thank our guests for coming on. And of course, if you want to contribute to help Dean get his $75,000 goal, you can reach out to him. Or on May 1st, be sure to listen to Chris's podcast. Until next time, much love.
This program is brought to you by Rogers Xfinity, connecting you to more of what you love. Visit Rogers.com for more details.
We want to hear from you. Provide feedback on this show or find out how you can get involved. Call, email us, or scan the QR code to take our quick survey.
Looking for the best way to get the Major League Baseball games you want to watch? Rogers Super Sports Pack has you covered. With MLB Extra Innings, you'll have a premium ticket to out-of-market regular season games with all games available in HD. Don't miss the action from the games you want from both the American and National Leagues. MLB Extra Innings, part of the Super Sports Pack. For only $39.95 a month, Rogers customers get all this for one all-inclusive price. Order using your remote by saying Super Sports Pack or tune to channel 431.
Sports is life. It's clear cut. Everything's out in the open. There's nowhere to hide. I had to prove myself more than anyone else.
You must be so proud of your son. He's gonna go pro. The sky's the limit.
There's always a winner and a loser.
You cannot reach the sky in broken cleats.
Of course, I always want to be the winner. And I did reach the sky.
Norman Kwok, the first Chinese-Canadian professional football player, still holds records to this day. He retired from the sport in 1960 and later became Lieutenant Governor of Alberta.
This is a man's heart.